Stop. What in the world are you doing with the bread?
Oh, what am I supposed to do?
I don't know, have you ever heard of a peanut butter jelly sandwich?
Nope.
I need a metaphor. Have you ever heard about non-restrictive elements?
Non-restrictive what?
Here are some questions you should be able to answer after the end of this presentation. What does a non-restrictive element do in a sentence? How can we use the sandwich making metaphor to understand how to make a sentence with non-restrictive elements? If I use a non-restrictive element, how should it appear in a sentence? What kind of punctuation does it need? How can we classify and identify different types of non-restrictive elements by their structure?
Okay, so what exactly do non-restrictive elements do? Non-restrictive elements add details to sentence that aren't necessary to understanding the sentence. In other words, you can take away these extra details without altering the meaning of it. These elements can be left out of a sentence without changing the meaning of it. They add extra details to an already complete sentence. So what does a non-restrictive element look like in a sentence? This graphic represents what a non-restrictive element would look like at the structural level of a sentence. So we start with a sentence, which is complete and grammatical by itself. But if we add the interrupter, or the non-restrictive element, it still retains its grammaticality once those commas are added. So if our sentence is like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, we can imagine the two parts of the sentence to represent the bread. The non-restrictive element, in this case, represents peanut butter and jelly. Chef Element's peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and sentences are masterpieces because of his thorough understanding of how these disciplines overlap.
Here's a direct application of what is happening at the sentence level with a non-restrictive element, while also reinforcing our peanut butter and jelly metaphor. Chef Element, head chef of a 5-star restaurant, always mixes his recipes well.
These sentences are all correct, but they lack additional details that we would normally find within non-restrictive elements. So for example, we have Chef Element made the best sandwich I have ever eaten, peanut butter and jelly makes for a fulfilling snack, and our dinner was delicious. Note that none of these sentences contain non-restrictive elements.
These sentences are all structurally the same. The action or statement being made is unchanged. However, appear perhaps longer than they originally were.
Removing the non-restrictive element, highlighted in blue, presents a complete thought. Also note that when the non-restrictive element is present, the sentence still retains its meaning, but more details have been added to the already current meaning. So, in this example, we have Chef Element made the best sandwich I have ever eaten, which is a complete thought. But, adding the non-restrictive element, we have Chef Element, whose culinary arts are well known, made the best sandwich I have ever eaten. This is also a complete and grammatical sentence. Here's another example, and one more.
No. What are you doing to that sandwich?
What are you talking about? I'm adding more ingredients to my sandwich.
Look, we have tools so that we can evenly spread the condiments onto the bread.
Oh.
Yes, kind of like commas in a non-restrictive element.
Why use commas? Commas can be used to set off non-essential information, just as a butter knife evenly spreads condiments over 2 slices of bread. Commas act as a tool to break up the sentence, making it easier for readers to comprehend. In the case of a non-restrictive element, however, they direct readers' attention in a sentence. Not only do commas tell us what is going on in terms of focus and where the reader's attention needs to be, but commas also indicate how a particular sentence could be read aloud, and how it makes sense when read internally. Paying attention in the differences to how commas sound as we read both containing and missing commas. For example, Chef Element's pizza for $3 a slice is so good that I'll be coming back for more. Chef Element's pizza for $3 a slice is so good that you'll be coming back for more. Chef Element, who is active in restaurant affairs, is in charge of making the menu. Chef Element, who is active in restaurant affairs, is in charge of making the menu. Your task, which is to make the perfect sandwich and boldly taste what no other man has, will occupy the rest of your life. Your task, which is to make the perfect sandwich and boldly taste what no other man has, will occupy the rest of your life.
Alright, this is how you make a proper peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I remember when I was young, still learning how to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and make sentences. The chef who taught me, he was very talented.
Oh, I see. So you use the knife as a way to spread the condiments.
That's right. Kind of like we use commas in a non-restrictive element to tell us when they begin and end. Peanut butter and jelly. Favorite sandwich of all time. Sure makes for a fulfilling snack. It's important, though, to make sure our sandwiches, like our sentences, are made properly for other people to enjoy. For practice, look for similar themes between sentences and non-restrictive elements and see if you can put them together into complete sentences. Don't forget to add commas where they are needed. You may have noticed that structurally, almost any of these non-restrictive elements can be added to any of the sentences, though the results may come out a little silly. For example, to say, bread 4 blocks down from where I live is the most exciting of all foods may be grammatically correct, but it doesn't actually make sense realistically.
These are the correct answers. Bread, an essential component of most sandwiches, is the most exciting of all foods. Chef Element, 4 blocks down from where I live, is perfect walking distance from my house. Chef Element, whose knowledge of culinary and language arts is vast, is a strict chef and grammarian.
Did you happen to notice in the last examples that some non-restrictive clauses looked perhaps longer or more complicated than others? This is because there is more than one way to use non-restrictive element in a sentence. And the non-restrictive element, whose culinary arts are well known, there is a subject and a verb. The subject in this kind of clause is whose culinary arts, followed by the verb are. When there is a subject and a verb in the non-restrictive element, we typically refer to this as a relative clause, an extra part of the sentence that provides more information and serves a different purpose in writing. In the second sentence, the non-restrictive element is more listy, filet mignon and mashed potatoes. This blue text does not have the subject-verb relationship. Different formations of non-restrictive elements serve different purposes in writing. Although this isn't necessarily essential to learning about how to use non-restrictive elements properly, it can contribute to a better understanding of the writing process overall.
Going back to the questions we asked you at the beginning of the slide, here are some of the answers you should have came up with. What does a non-restrictive element do in a sentence? A non-restrictive element provides additional information that completes a grammatical sentence. How can we use sandwich making to understand how to make a sentence with non-restrictive elements? Bread, though it is complete, it is quite bland by itself. Adding condiments and different elements, while still containing bread, will better entertain the taste buds, providing more flavor. If I use a non-restrictive element, how should it appear in a sentence? What kind of punctuation is needed? Non-restricted elements require 2 commas, one before the non-restricted element begins and one at the end. Can we classify and identify different types of non-restricted elements by their sentence structure? Yes, we can. We can use appositives, which appear to be fragments, only the subject of the sentence, and can use relative clauses, which contain subject-verb relationships.